We talk to them about real estate all the time and how to think about money differently and how to think about education differently. And so I think what they're seeing and what we would say that they're benefiting the most is not necessarily the ins and outs of real estate necessarily, but it's just the discipline. It's the success that comes from a disciplined life. And they're also seeing Thomas and I work together and how relationally, we're in business together, but we're also best friends.
Welcome to the Threefold Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the podcast where you'll not only learn how you can achieve massive success in multifamily real estate investing, but also how you can simultaneously pursue great relationships with your family and a better walk with God. You can achieve financial freedom through real estate investing without sacrificing the relationships that mean the most to you. Now, here's your host, Lee Yoder.
Welcome back, Threefold listeners. We've got another, a couple today. So two for the price of one today. Jennifer and Thomas Fawcett are joining us from Des Moines, Iowa. They've become friends over the past couple of years, so I'm so excited to get them on the podcast and share their story with you because it's a great story. A little bit about them, then we'll bring them in. They are busy parents with 5 children. They started investing in real estate in 2016 and have built a portfolio of single-family homes, small multifamily properties, and have recently purchased a large apartment building. They're founders of Vine Capital Partners, a multifamily investment firm based out of Iowa. They love talking about incorporating their faith and family into their business and how to remain steadfast and consistent through the challenges of being entrepreneurs. Love that vision there at the end. That's exactly what my wife, Hannah, and I are trying to do. And here at Threefold, what we're trying to do. So Jennifer and Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. Excited to have you guys on the show.
Thanks, Lee. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's jump in, guys. If you could just give us a little bit more color about your background. So how and why did you guys first get into real estate? And then maybe just a little bit about, how you started taking action.
Well, just to jump in, it was probably about 6 years ago. We started to look at ways that we could diversify our income. We got quickly onto real estate. I work in ag full time. And so I had some ideas around launching some different products throughout my ag background, but quickly landed on the power of what real estate could do for us. And we started the same journey a lot of people do. We bought a duplex and then some single family homes. We were on a trajectory of buying one property a year. And it was probably about 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago that Jen really started to look at how long it was going to take for us to meet our financial goals with the trajectory we were on. And she started to get interested in multifamily. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how we first started to look at maybe a 10 unit or a 15 unit property. And then you got had a vision around and kind of a shift in thinking around going larger.
Yeah. So, and when Thomas says we were on the trajectory of purchasing one property a year, and we actually use the BRRRR method, which if your listeners aren't familiar, that's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So we were doing that with our cash that we had invested, and we were bringing the kids and involving them and bringing them to the rehabs and having them swinging hammers. And we quickly realized that as our kids were getting older and getting busier, we weren't going to be able to continue those sorts of rehabs on the weekends just because we were getting too busy. But we still loved the concept of diversifying into real estate and reaping the benefits of owning real estate. Yep. And we still had time, but it was a different sort of time, like early in the mornings and late at nights when the kids went to bed. So we still had time. But so I picked up a book on multifamily properties because our smaller multifamily properties cash flows so much better than our single family homes. So somebody kind of encouraged me around the power of leveraging more doors under one roof. So I picked up a book and long story short, jumped into a mentoring program. And here we are with a large apartment building that we partnered with another experienced operator and were able to close on. But and I remember the conversation I had with another operator. I got her on the phone and I said, I think we're thinking of like 5 units, maybe 7 units. And she said, well, you're going to spend the time underwriting a 5-unit property or a 25-unit property. Why don't you think bigger? Think about partnerships, think about leveraging partnerships and going bigger. You might be ready for that. So we just kind of jumped in and tried to learn everything we could. Great. We shifted from listening to single family home podcasts to listening to multifamily podcasts and just soaked in everything and then jumped into that mentoring program. And that's really what launched us into that 136 unit property.
That's awesome. I want to get into that more, but let's stay where you guys were when you had the small portfolio. Can you remember so what was exactly the portfolio? You owned a few single family homes and a couple of small multis?
Yeah, at the time that we made the shift, we had one duplex and two single family homes.
Okay.
We'd bought
Right.
one on the market, one through a sheriff sale, and
Okay.
one through off market deal that we found.
And you guys were pretty hands-on with those, and as a family, bringing your kids. And I love that. That's what Hannah and I have done. But maybe just talk a little bit more, Jennifer, whether Thomas, you want to add some color to it. Like you guys notice, okay, with our kids, with our growing family, it just, I know with young kids, especially, it's hard to be on site and doing things and having the kids there with you. So maybe just a little bit about that. It's clear that your family, that drives the business, not the other way around. It's not, well, this is what the business is doing. This is what we want to do in business. So we're just gonna have to make it work for our family. For you guys, I can tell it's kind of the other way around, where it's like, well, this isn't working for our family anymore. It's not going to work doing more of this. So how can we continue with real estate? Because we feel like that's the path that God has us on, but it might look a little bit different now that we've, just got too many kids and they're too young to be out on properties swinging hammers. So we need to shift that. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for us, it was, the kids when we brought them on site, and it was really exciting in the early days. And but when we really we looked at it in terms of a property manager, like we were the property managers, and we were looking to get out of that. And when we kind of did the analyzing on whether or not that would make sense, it never would really make sense on our single family homes. We couldn't make that cash flow. Yep. So we then looked at how many units do we need to get under one roof to be able to hire a third party, a professional property management company, because it was no longer working with our kids. And you're right, we weren't willing to sacrifice our time with our family to go on site to run to these properties because they're down the street from us. We weren't willing to do that and give up time with our kids or miss a soccer game or things like that. So we thought, what does it take to get to that point where we can hire a property manager to go do that sort of things, and we can work on the back end sort of larger picture in our real estate business. And that's what it really took. And we kind of found that threshold is like 25 units, but that's when I had that conversation, and the other operator said, well, look even bigger than 25 units.
I was going to say, one of the things we really worked hard to try to incorporate our kids into our business, and that's one of the things I know, Lee, that you focus on too. Mm-hmm. And it really was neat. I mean, we do have, going back to some of those early days, we had our kids at a foreclosure home. We were spending the night there, had them sleeping on a carpet that probably they shouldn't have been sleeping on. And it was pretty intense. One of their favorite stories is actually when we found a bull python that had gotten loose in a house, and my contractor sent us a picture of this 6-foot long snake that we spent a few days trying to get out of the house. But they have some great stories of being engaged. And that's been our focus, is how do we really engage our kids in the business that we've been building? And one of the things we really try to bring out is that we have a large family, and what we want to try to do is accomplish more with our family by engaging them, rather than looking at our kids and our family as taking time away from the things that we're doing. We can actually accomplish more by having our kids engaged with the things that we're doing. And that has made our real estate journey shift as we've moved along this process. So that was what Jen was talking about. Yeah. As our kids' activities were changing, we wanted to change the business so that we could still be engaged, and it wasn't something that was pulling us apart. Yeah. What I was going to say, just listening to both of you speak, but especially you, Jennifer, the difference between being a property manager and an asset manager is a big difference. And you're talking about, when you guys were the property managers, I mean, you were called day to day, anytime you get a call, and you've got to be on the site. So then you're driving there, either leaving the kids home with your spouse, or you're taking a couple kids with you. And that's very difficult to do, versus when you're an asset manager, the property manager is doing all that. You just need to tell them what to do, or answer a phone call, right? So it's a phone call, it's an email, it's, most of the stuff like needs to be done, like most of the asset manager stuff, like you need to do it within a few days or a week. Whereas property manager, it's like, no, something's going on. You need to be here within an hour or maybe sooner, right? So we experienced a little bit of that as well. And you can build that around your family so much better when you're an asset manager instead of a property manager. When you talk, Thomas, about engaging the kids, I mean, we think along those lines too, but it is hard when your kids are young because they don't have much to offer. And it does mostly feel like they're a burden dragging you down when it comes to business stuff. But I guess one thing I've tried to focus on is, I mean, it's going to take a long time, like a decade, but if we teach them and if they're in it, I do see that vision.
when they get older, I mean, they're going to really be able to do stuff. They're really going to be able to work. And like you said, all of a sudden, I mean, you guys, your workforce is going to multiply. It's going to double and then triple, and then more with, adding a couple more kids that can actually work in the business. So are you starting to see some of the fruits of that? Or are you guys still kind of in training phase, dreaming of the day when they're old enough to really help out?
Yeah. So our oldest is 16 and our youngest is
Okay.
7, and we have 4 boys and a girl. And what I would say they're seeing is the discipline that we have around just getting up early, being disciplined to, create habits that are, enabling us to reach our goals. And we talk to them about real estate all the time and how to think about money differently and how to think about education differently. And so I think what they're seeing and what we would say that they're benefiting the most is not necessarily the ins and outs of real estate necessarily, but it's just the discipline. It's the success that comes from a disciplined life. And they're also seeing Thomas and I work together and how relationally, we're in business together, but we're also best friends. And so they're able to see that too. So there's all sorts of benefits when, a husband and wife and a family are working on a business together. They're seeing all of that and conflict resolution even. So.
And some of the practical things we're starting to see with our older kids is editing of our social media and being able to help us on, become experts at Canva and figure out how to do some things that we're always looking for help with. And so that's been really great is the, starting to see that engagement. So that's what we're trying to do is help, instead of using a VA, instead of outsourcing some of those things, we can find revenue streams for our kids to start to fit into the business that way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And just their generation catches things. I mean, they're so quick to pick up on those things. And I'll be working on something for 20 minutes and my 16-year-old will do it in 2. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, VAs are pretty cheap, but kids are like free, right? So
kids are free.
That's awesome.
We pay them in money to fill up the gas tank, but we'd have to fill it up anyway if we had to pay. So
yes, yeah, I think that sounds fair. I know you guys say we focus on strength from within our family, meaning the strength that comes from within our family enables us to make an impact on those outside of it. I love that. And then Jennifer, you were talking about morning routines and staying consistent with everything. Can you talk a little bit more about that and about how you guys try to utilize your morning routine? Since I'm sure you're very busy, and entrepreneurship just makes it so much busier. So how are you guys using a morning routine to help you out?
Yeah, so we have been getting up early. We're early morning risers. We get up between 4 and 4:30. That's when our day starts, and we spend time reading the Bible. We are people of faith, and so that's the most important thing to us. Yep. And so we feel like that grounds us and is the glue to our marriage. So we get up and do that, and then we talk about we work out together too. We do that just in our basement. Yep, and that just gets our brain going because before that, it's not quite functioning at 100% yet. So we work out, and then we do real estate together. And sometimes there's an hour for that. Sometimes there's 2, but that really is when a lot of our real estate happens and a lot of our planning for the week happens. We've been doing that for a while. And sometimes we'll be going through a book together, a real estate related book, either on taxes or, whatever it is, asset management.
And we've probably been doing the morning routine now it's probably been about 2 or 3 years. The last year, I'd say it really just started to be something that was habitual. Sometimes people say they can develop a habit faster, but for me, it probably took 2 years to really get into this habit where it's significant. And what that allows us to do is just, like you were saying, have these consistent actions. And that's what we're finding. Since we both have full-time jobs, Jen stays home with our kids and homeschools them. That's a lot of work. I have a full-time job in ag. And since we both have these jobs that take a lot of our time, we have to really focus on small increments of time that we can consistent action we can do each day. And that's really what led us to be able to purchase that large multifamily, to make a shift into syndication and understand that.
That's awesome.
Being able to get connected with investors and start to build this business. All those things really revolved around trying to do something every single day and do that consistently while over a year and a year and a half as we've made that transition and started to build this business.
Yeah, that's so good, guys. My wife and I get up, man, you guys have us beat. I thought we got up pretty early. I'm usually between 4:30 and 5, and she gets up 5 on the dot every day. And do things a little bit differently, but we would agree so much. Like, it's so powerful to start your day. I mean, we always start our day in the word as well. That's what keeps us grounded. And I know some people could stay up late. I just think it's such a, man, in the morning. I mean, yeah, it does take a little bit to get going usually, but man, like, you're just like at your best. Usually you kind of share that. And that's why, we try to always give that time to God as well, but then working in the business and getting some stuff done. And then you're jumping into your job, Thomas, Jennifer, you're jumping in with the kids and homeschooling, but you've already kind of done the most important thing. So I think, for me at least too, when the kids do get up and it's time, like, sometimes it is hard to pull myself away from work, but if I've gotten a few of the key things done, I'm able to really transition better and do a better job spending time with the kids and even with Hannah, because I have gotten a few of those most important things done, kind of the most important emails answered and caught up on a few key things. And I love what you guys say, like, especially multifamily, it takes so much to take down a big property, but it's not something you can do in a week or two, or even a month or two. It's like a year process of developing relationships. I mean, on the broker side, they're going to bring in lenders, but then partners, limited partners, the people that are going to bring the capital to the deal, and then learning. I mean, like you said, going through books, going through podcasts together. There's so much. And if you just do a little bit each day, over years, you're going to build that up, and then you're going to be ready. So, man, I think you guys have seen a lot of success because you have stuck with that morning routine and stuck with it for a long time.
Yeah. And what's great about that too is that our older 2 boys, we're starting to see they're waking up really early, and they're coming downstairs and they're having coffee, and maybe they're a little too young for that. I don't know, but they're starting to have some coffee, and they're starting with God's word. And they're also, we're just talking with them and having conversations with them. And then they're starting school really early, like really early.
Wow.
So it's great to see the discipline that's starting to develop in them. And I would like to think that it's because that's what's being modeled to them.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
Yeah. That it's hard to get up early. The key, this sounds stupid because it's so simple, but I just feel like not enough people think you just have to go to bed early. Like, that's the hardest part for most people, but that's the hard part. That's what my wife is so good at. So I really just follow her lead, because I would stay up and watch sports and stuff like that. But I'm just, all right, you're going to bed, I guess I'm going to bed too. And then it's easier to get up early. What are some of the other, key disciplines that you guys had, maybe just along the multifamily front? The things that you guys maybe are spending time doing in the morning that are setting you up for success and being able to take down, for instance, you guys closed on that 136 unit last year.
So some of those things that so Jen was mentioning that we did sign up for a mentorship, and that was kind of what really accelerated our trajectory of learning about the space. And since then, what we've been focused on is trying to underwrite properties each week. We're trying to set up, and that's something we can do in the morning. Also building materials and trying to get more information out to our investors. That's something that we're working on, and always trying to continue to learn about the space, what's happening in our market directly where we're at in Des Moines, Iowa, and figuring out how we can find properties. This last year has been difficult, as we were talking about. It's been difficult in the market right now to find opportunities, but we've just been preparing both our investors and our underwriting in such a way that once the right opportunity comes, we'll be able to jump on that and get something closed quickly. So that's been what we've been focused on in the morning recently.
Yeah. And one thing I would say really early starting out, because everything's uncomfortable starting out. Every phone call that you make is uncomfortable, but I made a commitment. I think it was the beginning of 2021. Yeah. I made a commitment to make an uncomfortable phone call every single week, maybe more than one, but I just started with one, and it was either to a broker. I can remember the first call I had. I remember who it was, and it was probably horrible. Or to a lender or to an investor. And now we make them regularly, but they're not uncomfortable, but it took a good 6 months. Of uncomfortable phone calls. And sometimes they'd happen at Friday at like 4:00, but I would get it in before the week ended, but just to make those uncomfortable phone calls. But goals like that are small goals, but that you can easily check off the box. But those over time make a big, big difference.
Yeah, because if you wait to do something like that, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then you try to make all those calls at once, it doesn't work, because you needed to talk to the broker 6 months ago. You needed to talk to the investors 6 months ago to get everything prepared for today when you're all of a sudden ready. So that's so good. It it takes just maybe a few phone calls a week. Start with one and build that up. That's awesome. Hey, Threefold listeners, just wanted to take a quick second here to promote our sponsor, a company that I'm a big fan of, done a lot of business. I'm a very happy customer of Prominent Title Agency. They are a full service title and escrow company licensed in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan, and Florida. They handle commercial transactions of all types and sizes, including multifamily, retail, industrial, hotels, medical buildings, restaurants, gas stations, golf courses. They are very experienced and efficient in handling large portfolios, including multiple properties and or multi-states, as well as entity transfers in Ohio. My guy over there is Rob Calabrese. He is the division director for Prominent Title Agency's commercial real estate division. Being a licensed attorney and title agent in Ohio and Kentucky, Rob has strong knowledge of the complex world of commercial real estate. He also offers legal services in all aspects of commercial real estate. Guys, I've worked with Rob a lot. We're getting a deal under contract now, and I told the broker, I said, man, I really want to work with Prominent Title. Just trust those guys over there. They're great. They're quick. Love working with those guys. Now, back to the show. I feel like I know what you guys are going to say because you've kind of hit on so many times, but I always like to ask my guests, what would you say is the key ingredient for being a successful real estate investor, maybe specifically getting into multifamily?
I would say that consistency. I think you have to do something every single day. For us, it was maybe an hour to 2 hours. Like I said, it's becoming more and more time combined.
Sure.
That we're able to work on things together in the mornings and evenings, but do something every single day, whether that's picking up a book or making a phone call, but you have to be consistent. You just have to. And I think we also were going to chat about just the strength of, whether you're working actively with your spouse or you're not active with your spouse, you know what the goal is and you're working towards the goal. And whether one spouse is active in the business or not, you both have to have the same goal in mind for the future.
Yeah, that's good.
And that needs to be something that's very clear. And so that, one person can free up the other person to do the things that they need to do to get to those goals. But I think just being like relationally, we need to be right before we can work on anything.
Yeah. It can be hard sometimes.
Yeah. Adding to that too, when you start to work with your spouse, it's really amazing. I mean, it's an incredible thing. It's been a dream that we've had to build something together, but it also brings a different element into your relationship that can be a challenge that you have to overcome in terms of now we're dealing with different elements in our marriage that we wouldn't have had to necessarily deal with if we weren't working together. And so it's been really good. So communication, I think that it gives you this ability to be able to refine your relationship, get to know each other even better on another level, and be able to move forward. But it takes a lot of work, and we've had to uncover things that we've been married for 16 years, but this is bringing challenges into our marriage that we hadn't had to deal with yet. And so it's been really awesome because we've been able to work through those things and strengthen our marriage as we've been able to build the business, as we've been able to pull in the investors that are now able to capitalize on getting into real estate. And it's been kind of a win-win-win as we've been working towards this goal.
I think too, it's so fun. Like we have so much fun. And when I see Thomas in his sweet spot in the business, it's the most attractive thing ever. Like it's just so fun. Like we love it. I mean, of course it's challenging, and it's, we have to humbly come before each other each day, and so with humility, for sure. But it's fun. It's great.
I would second that so much for Hannah and I. I mean, we just think about it, guys. Like you're bringing in a lot of struggle and difficulties, bringing into your marriage that you normally wouldn't have if you weren't being entrepreneurs together, right? Like whatever Thomas is going through, of course he's going to bring it home and maybe kind of wear it. And if it's a stressful day, then he's not going to be, as great of a husband and dad. Sure, but he's not coming home going, Jennifer, we got to figure this out together. Like, I don't know what to do, in the ag, like he's not doing all that, he'll handle that. And it doesn't like really, affect your marriage that much probably, but once you're doing it all together, all of a sudden it's like, man, we have to deal with this together. But I love what you just said, Jennifer, like, cause the flip side is also true. Like Thomas's big wins, in the ag business, he's, he kind of celebrates those with his coworkers. It was him and them that did that together. Your guys' big wins, like you get to celebrate together, and now with your kids and everything. So you're so right. It brings in, more challenges, but my goodness, like so many more sweet things too, like really exciting stuff. Really well said. I couldn't agree more. We've had the same experience. Well, speaking more into family, what would you guys say then is a key ingredient for making sure you're maintaining your priorities, making sure you're having success as a husband, wife, and as a parent while having success in real estate?
Yeah. So I would say very simply, do everything together. We do most things together. When I run to the grocery store, I always have a kid with me. And sometimes it's all of us. When we're at sporting events, we all try to go. Nobody's left at home at the house. And even with my 16-year-old, we just try to do things as much as possible together. We turn off screens and try to talk to each other and have communication with each other as much as possible, because the years go by so fast.
Oh yeah.
And then spending one-on-one time. Thomas has made a habit of taking each one of the kids out for a donut before church on Sundays, and so he does that every Sunday with a different kid.
That's awesome.
But I would say as much as possible, we just try to do things together as a family.
That's so good. My wife always talks about us being integrated. Like everything, she wants everything integrated, that we do everything that we're integrated together. So I love that, guys. This has been so good. I want to make sure people find you guys. I know we'll get your website. And you guys are on Instagram and LinkedIn. We'll get that all in the show notes. The website is vcpiowa.com, correct? Iowa spelled out.
Yep.
That's where we can send people. Great. So we'll send people over there. Before I let you guys go, I always like to ask my guests, how might my listeners and I be praying for you guys in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think something that would be great. We always want to have a larger impact with what we're doing with our real estate business, both in our smaller portfolio and with these larger properties that we're getting. So just prayers that we can have an impact on the communities that we're investing into, being able to bless the communities that we're investing into. So that's our larger goal. We do volunteer work in Des Moines, and we just we have a heart for people that are in that community that need to find different, improve their standard of living, being able to get out of poverty, to be able to find the resources that they need to improve their lives. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think just praying for those people.
Yeah. And I think I would follow that up with, because our hearts are so big for that community, we're really itching to jump on another property and get closed on another property here, but we would ask for patience as the rates are so high, and we're waiting and we're underwriting and we're getting denied the offers that we're putting in. We would just ask that we would just be patient and not not be too aggressive in our underwriting or projections, but that we'd be patient for the right one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, guys. We absolutely pray on both accounts for you guys. We're praying for all the same things. I always, it's so easy. I think underwriting is so tricky because you can do whatever you want with the numbers. You can, if you say that you're going to sell at a 5 cap, then all properties probably that you guys are looking at would work. Right. But that's not realistic. And I think you just got to get to a point, and I'm sure you guys do this. I feel like I always get to this point where I say, all right, I feel really good about offering this number, but I want to offer even more because I'll have a better chance to get it. And I feel like I always try to leave this gap where God can step in and make it happen if he wants to have it happen. And he hasn't, for me or for you guys. So we've got to accept that. Right. And but it's hard. So love to pray for that for you guys. It's going to happen. I know it is because I can see the impact that God's going to have through you guys through this. So hang in there, but we'd be happy to pray for that for you guys. And thanks again for coming on. This has been awesome. What a treat for me and my listeners. So I really appreciate you guys coming on today.
Thank you so much for having us, Lee. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode. I hope you'll take action on what you've learned today. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving Lee a 5-star rating and review. And check him out on threefoldrei.com. Until next time, 1 Timothy 6:17.